Hey everybody, I know it's been a while since I posted anything, but I wanted to show you guys my new project, possible screw up, we'll see here. So I picked up this GL1800 about a week ago, last weekend I guess, and it's a '03, kind of rough condition but not too terrible. I've already taken some pieces off here to work on them. The plastic up there was so scratched up you really couldn't see through it, so I had to pull all that off to be able to look at it, and I got another one on order already. Um, so yeah, I think I've always wanted a gold wing. Ever since I started riding motorcycles, it's kind of been in my family. My grandpa rode one, my uncle rode one, and just always wanted one. So I saw this one for sale. It is an '03, but it only has just under 55,000 miles on it. So for a Goldwing, typically I'd never consider buying a bike with 55,000 miles, but for a Goldwing, that's nothing. This thing still got another 250,000 miles on it, I'm sure. And cosmetically it looked a little bit rough, but it ran good and seemed to be fine. So I went ahead and bought it. Just thinking, okay, well I can replace some of that stuff, no big deal, a couple $100 in parts. And I drove about 100 miles to buy this thing, and then I rode it back, and it made the trip, no problems. But about halfway through, the FI indicator, the fault indicator light came on, and again, it still ran fine at highway speeds, no problem. But as I got closer to home and started stopping at red lights, pulling into the driveway, I noticed it just seemed a little bit off. It kind of wants to jostle a little bit at low speeds, and the idle was pretty rough after I got home. So, kind of thinking that I probably got ripped off. I think the guy knew what was wrong with it and must have had a way to clear the code. Kind of like how you can clear your check engine light with the ODB2 reader before you go to get an inspection. But then after 50 miles or something of driving, it comes back on. And I'm kind of thinking that's what happened, because the FI code that it's throwing, and I've got a video I'll post about how to read that. It's throwing a 25, which is a knock sensor right side, I think. And everything I've read online has suggested that generally the knock sensors don't go bad. It's actually the ECM, PGI, whatever you want to call it, the actual computer that goes bad, and basically where the knock sensor connectors connect to the computer gets brittle and messes up and throws that fault. So it's a pretty good chance that this thing actually needs a whole new computer, which is about $800 for a new one. And honestly, if they're that common of a problem, I don't think I would want to risk a used one. So right now I'm kind of at the point of, okay, now that I know what I know, do I keep working on it? Do I keep it as a project, or do I just put it back online, try to get my money back out of it? Half of me says just do that. The other half of me can't resist another project. So, but overall, it's really not. It's not as bad as it looks. I mean, it's got some sun bleaching and a little tear here in the seat, but cosmetically, it's not that bad once I get this section done. And I actually pulled that meter panel off and painted it, and I got some videos on that. It doesn't turn out great, but it still looks better than it did, in my opinion. So the first thing I'm going to have to do on this thing is get these covers off, start checking out that knock sensor. Basically, I'm just going to check all the wiring, make sure that I don't have a loose connection somewhere. And then I've seen some videos online of how to test that. Or some people also just, there's two knock sensors, one for each side of the engine. And you can swap out the sensors and see if it switches, because there's a 25 and a 26 code. And you can see, did the code change? Did it go from a 25 to a 26? And if that did, then that tells you that yes, your sensor is bad. If not, it's probably your computer that needs to be replaced. Now the other thing after messing with this for a couple days is that I realized very quickly that there is no such thing as a small job on a Goldwing. I mean, everything on this bike is just it's just a nightmare to get to. Everybody talks about the air filter change out. You basically have to remove this entire cover. You have to get pretty far down into the bike to do that now. You also get to the computer at the same time there, so if I have to change that out, it's no big deal. But again, honestly, cosmetically, it's not too bad. There's some badges missing. No big deal. Pretty cheap to replace. But it is, I mean, it does run well at speed. Just got to figure out what's going on with the idle. And I think it's a little low on coolant, so I need to figure out what's going on there. See, this hopefully it doesn't have radiator leaks. Because this bike does have two separate radiators, but I guess that's good too, because then maybe only one's leaking, the other one's good. Either way, I'm sure it's a nightmare of a job, and I'm sure it's extremely expensive. So yeah, so we'll see what happens. There's also a couple other little things, like this is the thing, when you go to buy something like my C50, you can pretty much see everything on the bike. You kind of know what the deal is. You know what's going right, what's going wrong. With the Goldwing, unless you pull all these panels off, how on earth are you supposed to see that this stuff is wrong? So it's just a bunch of little things that I'm starting to notice, like for instance this side cover. These things have two latches. Well, I can pull it and it'll release one. It's hard to do while I'm holding the camera, but it'll release one, but it won't release the other. So got to pull the seat, see if I can get in there. It's probably just a hinge that needs greasing or something, but just little things that, even though he had it open, he must have known a trick and just didn't want to tell me that it was acting up. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You can see that meter panel I painted in the background there. Yeah, but overall it's I don't know what I'm gonna do, but for now I'll record what I need to do on it. I've already ordered, like I said, the new clear piece and the visor panel before I realized I may have other things wrong with it, but worst case, I'm sure I could still get what I paid for it plus what I paid for those, so I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, not much else to say. I'll start it up real quick and show that it does run pretty decent. Another thing that's really interesting is the gas gauge is going down every time that I start this bike up, and there's no gas leaking. I don't smell gas. I don't think it's evaporating, so I don't know if it's just got some kind of weird delay or something. I guess it looks like it's coming up now, but it's kind of hard to tell how much gas you have in it. engine wise, I don't think I have an issue. The fact that it idles fine right now until that fault indicator comes on tells me I don't think I have anything mechanically wrong. I think it's just electronic. So that's a small blessing. Sounds like a Porsche. Also, like most of these Goldwings from this age or this era, a lot of these buttons are stuck. You can't turn the cruise control off, so I'm gonna have to open those up. It probably just needs to be cleaned and lubed up a little bit. No big deal. Reverse works fine on it. As far as I can tell, all the audio and all that stuff works fine as well. So anyway, that's just an introduction. I'll have a few more videos coming out on it, and we'll see what happens. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.